Welcome to another episode of the Pierce Brothers. Tonight we're all gathered around a little campfire here. This will be our first campfire video in a series of campfire videos where we cover a variety of topics. Today we decided, with 4th of July weekend, that we would talk about what guns we would take camping. So we each have a handgun and a rifle, except for Port, he only brought one handgun, so...
And I just brought a rifle, or a shotgun, same thing.
So, again, kind of a hard choice, and that'll kind of vary depending on where you're camping and what you're doing, but, and only taking 2 guns is, of course, not always ideal. When we go camping, there's usually more guns than people, so...
A lot more,
yep. Because why only take 2 when you can take 10?
Pretty much.
Yeah.
We have issues.
So, on a side note of that, kind of on that note, we took a trip through East Idaho a few years back, Port and us and a few other people in the family, and we had probably 20 or 30 guns in the back of the van, and then a little bit of camping gear. But that's usually how we travel, but we decided to narrow it down for this video just for the sake of time and do 1 handgun, 1 long gun, and kind of the reasons to why we chose those guns. We'll start with Port down here on the end.
All right. Well, I'm Porter. So it kind of depends on my mood at the moment of what gun I usually take or what I'm up to when I go camping. Like on Monday, the reason why I have this gun with me today is because on Monday I went up and camped out overnight and helped the rancher push 400 head of cows on horseback, about 10 miles or so. And I carried this Ruger New Vaquero with me all day. I never left the holster all day. I mean, other than showing other cowboys at the moment of what I was carrying and stuff, but I never had to shoot anything. But when you're on the cattle drives, you'll see coyotes or sometimes a wolf, or during bear season you might see a bear or something, but you just never know what you'll encounter on those cattle drives, and so that's why I carry this Vaquero with this particular setup. It's very convenient and everything to carry. If I'm just up dedicated camping with just the family or whatever, the rifle that I primarily will take is a Browning BLR, and one of 3 handguns. Usually it will be either my Blackhawk 45, my Blackhawk 357, or my Smith & Wesson Mountain Gun 45. Sometimes I'll take this Vaquero, but typically I'm usually on horseback when I carry this. So, but yeah, I mean, it's just kind of depends on what the occasion is when I'm up camping and what I'm going to be doing. If I'm going to be doing a lot of hiking, I like my shoulder rig that I carry my Blackhawks in. But yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, it's just kind of whatever's you can shoot really well. Most handguns, I think if you can hit out to 100, 150 yards, semi-consistent, I think that's the handgun to take. You won't ever catch me dead carrying an autoloader up in the mountains, rifle or handgun. You just won't catch me dead doing that. I think single actions and double actions are typically more accurate, for the shooter itself. Not saying autoloaders can't be, but I think you subconsciously have to slow down, take your time, and make every shot count. So, but yeah, that's kind of the way my thinking is and what I prefer when I'm up camping. So,
Okay, so I'm Jake. I'll start with the rifle. So if I was going to pick one rifle to pick, normally when I'm up in the woods or in the mountains or hills, I do a lot of hiking. Me and my wife, especially this year, have been most weekends we go on and do at least a 5 or 6 mile hike. And if I'm going like on a long extended camping trip or something, it's really hard to beat a good bolt action rifle for a rifle if I had to pick one. This one's on my K98 Mauser with a Zeiss full power scope, original Zeiss. It's in a quick detached mounting system, so I can pop that scope off really easy. I do have access to the iron sights underneath the scope here, so I could leave it on and see them, or pop it off and use them if needs be. This one's an 8mm Mauser. This one's proven to be pretty accurate, 100% reliable. Yeah, I've shot it out to like, that was like 650 yards or so a couple weeks ago. Yeah,
680, I think.
680. Yeah, I'm doing pretty good at that distance with it. So yeah, plenty accurate. If I'm going hunting or whatever, the 8mm Mauser is more than capable of killing pretty much anything we'll find in Idaho. So, especially with the right bullet and bullet choices. So I would definitely pick a. It was kind of a tie between this and I have a 1903 Springfield with a an old Lyman Alaskan scope, 2.5 power. Of course, that's in 30-06, but that one doesn't have iron sights. It's got a lower mounted scope, and they removed the iron sights when they did that. And I just, especially with these older scopes, I like to have backup iron sights because you never know if your scope's going to fail. So that's why this one won out. So if I could just have one, it'd probably be this right here. So handguns. I know Porter says he doesn't like auto loaders, but he just doesn't shoot them enough.
Well, I shoot them plenty. I just don't like them for carrying.
If I could just pick one handgun, it would be a 1911. And I usually, pretty much every day this, or every time I've been out this year, I've been packing a 1911 in this rig here. Just kind of a generic belt, but I got 2 mag pouches here, so 4 extra mags total. I've actually been packing this one quite a bit. It's a cylinder and slide 1911 and 45 ACP. Beautiful finish on it. Killed a few rattlesnakes. Got to a rattlesnake den earlier this spring. Killed quite a few rattlesnakes with it. Proven to be very accurate and reliable. I haven't had a single malfunction yet. I've got a loader right now with some of my hand loads. It's a 225 grain cast bullet going 850 feet a second. That's a pretty decent load. If I was going to be going into bear country or something, I would pick a better load. This gun I don't have set up for super heavy plus P loads, but this one here is one of my favorite 1911s. I've done quite a bit of tuning on this gun and some modifications. I would put the reliability of this 1911 against any custom 1911 on the market. So this gun's proven to be very reliable. And again, I've done all that work myself. But this one I've got set up specifically for heavier bullets. These are some of my hand loads here. They're going like 950, 960 out of a handgun. So, and that's just a 230 grain full metal jacket. But if I was going into bear country, I would definitely pick something more along the lines of this. This is Buffalo Bore. It's a 255 grain hard cast bullet going 925. And again, both of these 1911s are very, very accurate. Yeah, easy shots at 100 yards. So, yeah, handgun wise, that's what I would pick. Second choice for handgun. I know we're only supposed to pick one, but I'm kind of throwing in a second choice here.
Unbelievable.
Fireworks.
Yeah, we are recording this the day of 4th of July, so expect some fireworks in the background occasionally.
So second choice would be a Browning high power. I think here a couple weeks ago I was shooting one of my Mark IIIs with the tangent sights. We were doing some shooting competitions, and out at like 120 yards I was very consistent at almost hitting the target. We had a little tiny water bottle at that distance, and they're very accurate if you know what you're doing, and they're easy to be consistent with. But the high power, again, it's not the best cartridge for packing in bear country or anything. It can certainly get the job done if you put your bullets in the right spot and using the right loads. But back when the whole ammo shortage started, when Obama was in office, you couldn't find 22 long rifle ammo. I don't know if any of you guys remember that. And I was in college. I went to college pretty soon after that started, and 9mm ammo started becoming readily available and fairly inexpensive. And so I picked up a Glock 17 actually back in those days. I couldn't find a Browning and couldn't afford one anyways. But started using that kind of like I would a 22. So I shot lots and lots of rabbits, lots of small game along the river and stuff over there in eastern Idaho with it. And it does a pretty good job for that type of just small game hunting, you know, up to a coyote. And I shot a coyote with it as well. Yeah, it's a fun, smaller bore, smaller game hunting cartridge. So yeah, if I had to pick a second handgun, it'd probably be a high power. You got a little more punch than a 22, but still pretty inexpensive to shoot.
I'm Joe, and for my rifle choice, I really like my Marlin 1895 chambered in 4570. This is the SBL model. This one is Ruger made gun. I like that caliber a lot because it's versatile and you can take anything from deer all the way up to a grizzly or bigger with it, depending on what load you're using. So I've got a couple different loads here that I typically use. The first is a Hornady 325 grain FTX bullet. That's great for deer and kind of that size game. And then the other is a Buffalo Bore 380 grain mono. That's a metal bullet. This one's going 2,075 feet per second. That's a great heavier bullet for grizzly and things like that when you're in grizzly country. West Idaho, we don't worry so much about that, but I do travel to East Idaho quite a bit. Although there have been a couple of reported sightings up near New Meadows with grizzlies, so they are traveling this way. Yeah, that's a great rifle. And of course, if you ran into a T-Rex, you could also take that down if you needed. Back when Remington owned Marlin, they on their website they had the T-Rex listed as one of the animals that they was capable of taking after the Jurassic World movie came out a few years ago, when Chris Pratt carried one of these in that movie. Anyways, so that's probably my favorite outdoor rifle that I've got. I love lever actions. I prefer them over a bolt gun. I don't know. They're just always have. We shot a lot of lever actions growing up. 22 lever actions and that. So I've just always liked a good lever action rifle. So for my handgun, I've got a Smith & Wesson Model 22, chambered in 45 ACP. My main defensive load I use in all my 45s is this Black Hills 230 grain hollow point. This one is using the Spear Gold Dot as the bullet, but that's a great load. I use it in all of my 45 ACP caliber handguns and have for years. It's been reliable, functional, shoots great in all my 1911s, which can be picky on depending on what hollow points you're using. Some 1911s are real picky, but all of mine have fed this bullet just fine. But I like a good double action revolver for being out in the woods over a single action. It's a little simpler to operate, quicker to shoot. I'm a little slower with a single action, unlike Port. Port's pretty savvy, and Dad, obviously. But anyways, so those would be my two main guns. And I have to mention my outdoor tomahawk because I'm the tomahawk guy. This is I love tomahawks. They really are a great tool, a great all-around just item to have. I've got a few different ones, but this one is the Viking Operator Hawk from Half Ace Blades. This one, I carry this hiking, I carry it camping. It's a great camp axe or general outdoor axe. I've got a few different tomahawks from Half Ace Blades and a couple of other different companies that I like a lot for different purposes, but yeah, this is the main outdoor one. Anyways, good option there for a sharp-edged tool for the outdoors.
Okay, so I'm Will. I'm the youngest of us Pierce brothers, and today I chose to take my Winchester Model 12 trench gun, which this is my personal favorite shotgun to have. Can slam fire, is made for like during World War II in the trenches. Yeah, I need to
attach a bayonet.
Yeah, to get a specific one. I do have a bayonet, but not the correct one to attach to this, which probably once I do get that bayonet, we can do a video on that, which that'll be fun. But Yeah, that way if you ever go hunting out and a zombie apocalypse happens, you're all set to go. And
Or if the wolves attack, you get surrounded by a wolf
Oh, yeah,
pack, you
there
got a
you go.
bayonet while you're still reloading.
exactly.
Shotguns are so versatile. Like even up in grizzly country, you can load up with slugs, and that
Yeah.
stuff is pretty hard.
Then in terms of knives, which I have my Cricut Kukri, which this is like basically a mini machete, great for going through like a lot of what's the word, like brush and stuff. So if you have to go through a trail that has a lot of overgrowth, you can cut through that pretty easily. Then of course with Bowie knives being my personal favorite, my Marauder Bowie. I have a few different models from both Cold Steel and a few other brands, but I think this Marauder from Cold Steel is my personal favorite. But yeah, that pretty much does me in. So now we'll go to Dad.
Well, Joe said Joe's want to start this channel, so he's kind of giving us direction on what to do, what the subject's going to be, and he said, let's do one, just 2 guns, camping, a rifle and a handgun. I'm like, since when did we limit ourselves to 2 guns to go camping? The only time I've ever done that is when I was in Alaska, and you're in the wilderness for a week or 2 weeks with a pack on, and that's what you lived out of. And of course, weight's an issue and so on, and that kind of brought up the subject in my mind. Joe didn't say what state, and it kind of took me back to some of the hunts I did with Master Guide Ed Stevenson, who's passed away in recent years. Good friend of mine. This is a rifle that he owned for years. It's a Browning 1886 saddle ring carbine in 4570, and it's made by Morocco. He actually got, it rains, it's wet all the time. You're constantly in rivers and creeks, and he got water from the breech somehow. It settled in the barrel, and when he shot it, it split the barrel. So he cut the barrel down about an inch or inch and a quarter, something like that. Of course, it's got an aperture sight. But this gun, if the camera's close enough, you'd see it's got a tremendous amount of wear on it. And he's killed, he literally killed 100 bears, big bears with this gun, with clients and so forth, finishing wounded animals and so forth. This rifle has a lot of stories with it. Ed, in his more recent years, under my recommendation, began carrying a Marlin guide gun in 4570, and the last bear that ever attacked him, he killed it with that. After it got him down, and one of his dogs saved his life by distracting the bear long enough. He turned and he shot it from the breech end, if you will, and the bullet went lengthwise through the bear and killed it. And unfortunately, his dog died in the process. But so if I were in Alaska, yeah, 4570 would be a top choice for me. I've hunted Alaska many times. Here's another one that I've carried to Alaska many times. It's a 500 Linebaugh, built by John Linebaugh, especially for me. That gun's accounted for a lot of game with me. It's a very, very precision, well-made, accurate gun. Here I've got it in an El Paso saddlery tanker holster, and it, of course, sits here on the chest. If a bear or something comes at you and your rifle's on your shoulders, it's right here, and you're going to save your life. And when you're hiking, you're traveling by foot, you sit down and rest. First thing you do is shed your pack, and this is always out of the way with your pack, and it's always with you, because that's exactly when you're going to bump into a bear. They're like a rattlesnake. They all of a sudden they're there when you least expect them. And so that's what I do if I was in Alaska. I've done that many times. But today, we were camping in Idaho. My choices may surprise you. Often we take horses when we go camping, ride them in the mountains. We do have grizzly bears here, but not many, at least not on this side of the state. We have wolves, coyotes, so forth. The Browning BLR 81, and that's the second generation of Browning lever guns. Their current one I'm not as wild about as the original BLR 81. The BLR 81 is a very straightforward design. This one's of course set up with XS aperture sights. Shoots extremely well. It'll stay a minute of angle. Run into a wolf or coyote, 400 or 500 yards, you can take them. And of course, saddle scabbard, just a natural with that. It kind of replaces the old 30-30, but a lot more range. We typically run 87 grain Hornady VMAXs in them. If I was using a bear country, I'd probably go to a bigger caliber, but again, we're camping. It's kind of doubtful you're going to need it. The handgun I would choose, that's a tough one because I'm happy with a 44 special, 44 mag, 45 Colt. So it kind of depends on my mood, which one of my favorite guns I want to take that day. For tonight's purposes, I selected this El Paso Saddlery rig. It's a 1930 Austin fully carved holster, and inside's a factory engraved USFA. It's a master pattern engraved, ivory grips, special ordered that way from the factory. So the master pattern engraving was all performed by Dennis Keyes. Beautiful gun, case color. It's got the black powder style frame. What's interesting about this gun is shoots about the same point of aim, whether I'm pushing a 246 to 250 grain round nose for small game, for camp meat at say 7 or 725 feet a second, and destroys very little meat, almost like a 22. Or I can step it up and push 250 grainers at 1200 feet a second. And with 44 specials, I've taken black bear, deer, many deer, elk at 120 yards. I put that load through a bull elk broadside, took him clean as a whistle. I have a lot of confidence in that original 250 grain Keith bullet. If I was really going to carry this gun and worry about it in grizzly country, I can push a 310 grain bullet in the 1150 range very easy. That's fully 44 mag levels, yet the gun still only weighs 37, 38 ounces, which is very packable. The other thing is if you're in camp, you have different methodologies for carrying it. Here I've got a shoulder holster that works very slick. I use these very commonly. Fits under here. Nice when you're riding in a vehicle or sitting down. Again, here's an El Paso tanker holster that, of course, rests on the chest. I have an extra cartridge loop here that sets on it for extra rounds. If you're carrying a backpack, this is the way to go. It puts it out of the way for you. But I know we're limited to 2, but I got to tell you, when my boys were young, they went on a Boy Scout type camping, hiking trip up out of Man Creek, Idaho, which is, mountainous, pine trees, got wolves, bears, elk, deer, and rattlesnakes. And Joe was pretty young at that time, probably 13, 14.
13 or
been
14.
Been raised with guns and shooting, and I totally trusted him from a safety standpoint. I said, Joe, a lot of these boys that are going to be with you, they come from families that are less blessed with guns, if you will. And so I said, I gave him this little Smith & Wesson 317. It's a 22, only weighs a little over 11 ounces, 8-shot, little pancake holster. I had a friend make up for me in it. Just super lightweight, and yet it's very accurate. I said, Joe, put this in your pack. If you guys get into some kind of trouble or something, at least somebody's armed in the group. So they're up hiking, and all of a sudden they got into rattlesnakes. And Joe drops his pack, pulls it out, and of course goes to shoot, and all the other boys are like, "What the heck?" And
and I would have shot it, except Porter ran in the way trying to kill it with a rock.
I didn't have a gun.
Porter was like 8 or 9 at the time. Yeah.
That's not even the whole story. We were sitting there walking. I was the last one in the line. Everybody else walked right over top this rattlesnake, and I looked down, and my foot's literally right on top of it. And I'm like, well, it's like rattlesnake. And I jumped back, and then Joe comes running up with the gun, but everybody else was in the way and didn't get a shot. But
well, this is a very serious camp pistol. And the reason I say that, you think about 11 ounces and the accuracy it offers. I mean, there's quail, there's squirrels, there's camp pests that sometimes you have to deal with. And a little 22 is just awfully handy. But it's so small and light, it doesn't count as the third gun, right, Joe?
Yeah.
So I had to mention that, throw that in, because that's one of those guns that you just literally have to take along. So those are kind of an odd group of choices, but they work well for me. I am very traditional with guns, but I also only like guns that work very well. And they got to offer great reliability, great accuracy. I get pretty critical of guns that fail in those areas. So,
well, we hope you've enjoyed this, our first campfire series video. Again, stay tuned. We'll have more of these. They'll probably drop on Sundays in between our zombie shoots. The purpose of these is really just to kind of cover a variety of topics. We'll tell some stories. We'll probably have Dad tell a bunch of hunting stories at some point. And
He's been in a lot of places, so
yeah. So yeah, stay tuned for those. And we hope this was fun for you to watch. Let us know in the comments what 2 guns you'd take and where you live and kind of the reason why you'd take those guns. We do our best to get back to all the comments, but they're getting, well, more and more, and it's getting harder to keep up, but we try our best to make sure and respond to everybody. But we do appreciate the interaction. We read every comment, and we appreciate the support and the views. Yeah, we look forward to seeing you next time. Go check out some of our other videos. We've got lots more plans, so stay tuned, and we've got a lot of exciting things coming down the pipe. And we hope you had a safe and happy 4th of July. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.